As of this is 5.5 million refugees have already fled Ukraine. Of those who have fled the country, it's estimated that 90% are women and children.
Right.
While most men aged 18 to 60, this is from a feminist source, by the way, are required to stay behind under martial law.
It did also say in the last study that most of the women that left were pregnant or had children or were disabled or had already been assaulted.
What?
That's literally what it just said in the last study. I read it out loud.
You're telling me the women who are going to the western border and the invasion is in the east? Most of the women are coming. What?
I just read the last study out loud. That's what it said. What can I say, brother? What can I say?
What do we say, boy?
The majority of the women who have fled the country are disabled?
That's what it said. Literally go back to... No, it literally said they were pregnant or they had children or they were disabled or they had already been victimized by the war. That's literally what it said in the very last study you were on. I read it out loud. Am I wrong or am I right?
I don't know, dude.
I literally just read it out loud. I swear to God.
The other day,
it said many displaced Ukrainian women are particularly vulnerable because they are pregnant or have small children, have a disability, or are a victim.
So maybe not the
violence.
majority. We can throw the majority out the window, but a lot of
displaced.
Yeah, so we'll throw the majority out the window. I'll take that part. But
literally everyone in Ukraine is a victim of violence. They're in a fucking war.
So the
This
majority,
doesn't mean
baby.
anything.
I'm still right.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything.
No, okay, it's fine. It doesn't have to mean anything.
It literally means nothing. In any case, so
who's
You're
on
good.
Hinge?
I just like to mess around. My bad.
okay, so you think in the Ukraine conflict that women are the primary victims of war? Why?
I can send you the article because I have the history on her computer.
How about I just grant you that you said what 53%?
Yes.
I'll just grant you the
Sure.
statistic. Okay, so then 47%.
Sure.
Now, if I gave you a statistic that like 95% of the military casualties, so deaths and injuries, are men, which one's worse?
Well, sure. And again, the statistics you give, right there.
You disagree? You think? I don't know the exact numbers, but I would assume that 95% of the military casualties are men.
I think it's 97% since the Gulf War. Allegedly.
Well, you can give in the statistics of what you're giving me, the framework of what you're giving me. Sure, men are the victims.
Wait, oh my God.
King donated $200. Brian, I'm sure you have heard that the government is in the process of passing a bill that would automatically sign women up for the draft. Would the feminists here support this?
It's been like any push to have women have to register for the selective service has been shot down every single time it's been brought. I think it went to the Supreme Court. It's been to Congress in the legislative branch. I know recently men are now automatically registered for selective service. You no longer have to. You're just automatically placed in the program as a man between 18 to 25, 26, I think. So men no longer have to register because you're just automatically in it. I've not heard a corresponding thing for women. I'm not sure how that'll play out. Maybe they get automatically registered, maybe they don't. But in any case, currently they're not required to. So wait, so I'm just a bit confused. Okay, so back to this Ukraine thing. So are you ceding the point? I'm just confused.
I'm saying again, framework, just like what happened last time, framework of what you give me, yes, I concede.
So, but are you denying that that's the framework?
I am denying that's the framework.
Wait, I'm confused.
I'm denying that's the reality of the framework, right?
Okay, fine.
It's the framework of what you give me, but I don't.
You deny that.
This is the
fine.
reality,
So,
like current.
So you're saying that I'm overestimating the amount of male military casualties. Let me
No.
I'll just be charitable and I'll just say we'll go down to 80%. 80% of military casualties are men, which it's not, but even if we use those numbers.
If you're only doing military casualties, that's very different than civilian casualties. So that's my
Which would
whole
also
point.
incorporate male civilians.
Of course it does.
So you got
Dude, Robert Tanner, thank you for the gifted 50 memberships,
God
man. Really
damn.
appreciate it. You're a fucking legend. Thank you, man.
Well, women deal with war in a different way than men do.
Nice.
Still
Good
just as
point.
tragic.
Look at you.
Helped you. I'm
Great
helping you
point.
out. I'm helping you out.
So
You know.
I'm just a little confused here.
How come we can talk about this but not Israel?
The only
Palestine?
way it'd be comparable, like
it's
the
too-
point that you made is he's not bringing up
Good,
civilian
yeah, great
casualties.
contribution to the conversation there.
Was mine good?
No.
When did World War I start?
The only reason that your point that you brought up that he's not
1914 to
bringing up
1918.
civilian casualties would actually be a good point is if the civilian casualties were also 80% women. Because if not, then you've got like the 80%, 90-something percent of military casualties being men,
Well-
and then the civilian casualties, it's likely it's 50%. But even if it's mostly women, it's not a good point to bring up and to defend his argument or to you get what I'm saying.
Well, I can
Unless
continue with that's the whole point of like the 53% with the Ukraine war and like Russia, because this is such a recent like war in statistics. They are able to actually deem like this is a gender biased assault is the majority of these women. And like I wish I could tell you the website. I wish I memorized the website and I had it like on my phone right now so I could tell you guys. I did research it before I came here, but it's gender bias assault. It's not like so
What?
you can
Wait, what does that mean?
gender bias because they are women. They are choosing to assault them over men, for example. So if it was a man in the household,
Well, this is absolutely bogus.
why? Well, how so? You say
so-
Ukraine is partying it up,
So
but the women in Ukraine are partying up somewhere in the clubs, and this is bogus.
It absolutely is bogus because
Why?
the gender bias, if you want to frame it from a gender bias, the gender bias is, and this is a systemic thing. This is from the government down. Men between the ages of 18 to 60 or 65, I can't remember exactly what, are barred under martial law from leaving the country. Women are allowed to flee. Children are allowed to flee. So I'll just turn it around on you and say, yeah, there's a gender bias against men.
When was that passed?
Are you denying?
No,
Are you denying this?
Because this article that
At the breakout of war,
2023.
literally
2023.
days within the breakout of the war, men could not flee the country, women could. You want me to pull up CNN, BBC? I'll pull up any news source you want and it will show this.
Because this was a 2023 article that I'm referencing right now, so that's why I'm confused.
Men have been barred from leaving the
Sure.
country from the outbreak of the war. What's your point?
But they have to fight it.
Well, if you want your country defended, don't you want men defending it? I mean, women are pretty
well,
weak.
yeah, there's reasons why, but
They're weak. We don't want them on the front lines. It's a bad battle strat.
That's not really the argument
Yeah,
at
that's not the
hand.
point.
Again, the conversation stems from who's the primary victim of war, men or women?
Probably men, yeah. But Kirby.
You have to say victim. I'm assuming you mean death, like casualties.
Well,
so
yeah,
yeah, of course
the
it was
casualties-
men.
That's
the real debate here.
Yeah.
Women have
But
to suffer
say,
a
like,
lot of the
women don't suffer at
ramifications of
all
war.
Wait, you
Nobody
don't think, hold
ever
on.
said that
you don't
women
think
don't suffer at all.
casualties are victims?
I think casualties are victims, and that's what my original point was. But again, I think it's what do you think is the worst victims? The people who are being tortured and like.
Okay.
I don't want to get into the extremes of what happens in war crimes and things like that. But again, what you deem a fucking victim is
She kind of cooking.
No, not really. Okay.
instant death, instant gunshot. And I'm not saying, of course, men.
But there's no way
obviously
for
are
it to
victims
get
as well.
better, I
Okay.
guess. It's just over versus
Over
like,
in
there's a
there are-
possibility for
there-
those kind of people to.
Has anybody here gone through something traumatic?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Would you rather have just not gone through that and be dead right now?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
No.
No.
Here, going
no.
around the table. Have you ever
Oopsies.
gone
No.
through something traumatic?
Shit. Uh-oh.
No.
We're good. It's fine.
Oh, nothing traumatic? Okay. Traumatic? Anything traumatic?
Yeah, and I'm glad I'm alive. I wouldn't rather be dead.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm glad I'm alive.
Sure. I don't know.
Yeah, life's good now.
I choose death.
I mean,
You're living
If-
with the trauma now, and you haven't.
yeah,
chosen
you're
death.
currently.
Yeah.
And look at
That's fine. I don't give a hell
But
or a hole.
it's
Wait, there's a potential.
making your point
slip.
irrelevant.
No, sorry. It's my
Oh,
it's my elbow. I need to go grab a Band-Aid. We're good. I'll hold it down here.
Okay.
I'll hold it down here for a second. It's just bleeding.
What about you?
Oh, I'm just gonna.
I wouldn't trade like any human experience for anything in the world because that's like what living is. Like I want to be as alive as possible, like good, bad, whatever. Like it's life. Like I want to be experiencing life, whatever it's handing to me. I'm serious. I'm so
That is
serious.
such a ridiculous statement with you wanting to live human life, but you can get completely tortured, but you're living human life. Like that's crazy.
Well, is that?
I guess
didn't say
that
that.
hope is like
I
still
didn't say
alive
that.
rather
Like,
than you're just
that was a
That's pretty much.
tortured?
That
Well,
was
that
a
was
no.
pretty much my like original statement. It's like
Well, he asked me something different.
How many women are being tortured in Ukraine? I don't
assaulted 53%.
Okay, we're talking about torture has its own definition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like when I think of torture, I think those like medieval like
the stretcher.
machines.
Yeah, or
Like,
like sawing you in half or something.
yeah, like some crazy
Yeah.
shit. I don't know why torture. What? It's possible that people are being tortured, but
Yeah, prisoners of war also, but that's still like I feel like we're fighting a weird, like who suffers
I would argue
more.
there's probably more men who are being tortured
Yeah.
in Ukraine than women. So your whole torture angle here, the only thing I would even grant you is this essay component.
Sure.
Okay.
Agree to disagree.
Actually,
don't-
wait, I heard something about even men were being men.
Men are essayed, but women
in
are predominantly
Ukraine.
essayed.
I have a quick question, just because I want to kind of like understand like where you're coming from. So are you kind of saying like, let's say the man is the primary victim, but like since they're technically gone, they don't have the ability to feel victimized?
No, it's like, it's kind of the point where it's like, if you have instant death, you're no longer like
You're not
yeah,
suffering.
so they
You're
don't,
not
they don't
suffering.
feel you don't
like they're a
feel the
victim because
pain,
they're
the
dead.
continual pain. So there's like a lot of times with war crimes, there's like the families dying in front of you, families getting like assaulted in front of you, things like that, and so you have to live with the pain of being not able to
Yeah,
do
so-
things like that.
So like
And
they've
so
passed, so they don't have the ability to feel victimized. So they're like.
they're gone. Like, right?
But I think
But there's
like
no
in
chance of anything to
the
get better.
question is just like kind of like, at least for me, it's just very straightforward. It's just in the action that happened, who was the first victim?
Well, you
would
don't
be
know
the-
who went
would be-
first, right? The man could have been alive and things
'cause
are happening.
The women don't become victims until the man does. So like they're not like.
I don't think that's necessarily true, and I agree with that men are the victim of war. Like,
Well, it
we don't know
depends
who
what
like they don't
died
start
before
like
someone was
essaying women
essayed.
before they go into
Yeah, we don't
war.
have any,
Yeah.
like,
Right,
we would
but I
have
think
no
you're
way of knowing
framing it
that.
from the angle of, well, the
Feeling
family
lost.
members will be sad.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm coming off of. Is like they're not gonna be sad unless something happens to the man.
That I would agree with. But we're talking about essayed and torture. We don't
no,
know.
I'm talking about kids as well. The kids are at home. They're not at like. Oh, I mean, of course, if it's their older kids, yeah, sure. But
Okay,
young kids
I mean,
are at
actually,
home.
her point, even in the case of SA, is still kind of valid.
No.
Because there's typically a front line. If the enemy then breaks through the front line,
Then they're gonna
aka
target
a
the
fuck
women.
ton of dead men, then they can get into civilian areas,
Yeah.
and then they can commit atrocities. But it's typically not, oh, the women are just at the front, and then the women get essayed, then the fighting happens. It's typically the fighting happens, they break through the front line, and if the belligerent force is inclined to commit war crimes, basically, then yeah, I suppose after the men have been killed or
Well, it's
casualties.
Yeah, they have to
on-
get through the men to get to the women.
Well, dependent
That's-
on the area, dependent on the invasion, dependent on if it's like a new attack, things like that. Yes.
Well, hold on, fine. I'll even argue this too. So let's say they break into a civilian population where there's no front line, there's no defending force.
And there wouldn't be
They're
any war
going
going
to
on.
dispatch the men who could potentially put up a resistance. So if there's any men in the community of fighting age that potentially have access to firearms, they're going to dispatch the men first. Then they might choose to, I don't know what the numbers are when it comes to the frequency of SA. Let me ask you a question though, okay? So let's say 100,000 men die and then 10,000 women get SA'd. Which is worse?
You've said this before.
Cool. We're having the conversation again. Which is worse?
I mean, sure, the men. There you
Just
go.
by pure volume.
Well, what's your actual answer?
By volume, the men.
Okay. What if it's 100,000 to 100,000? Which is worse?
I would say women.
What about 50,000 to 100,000? 50,000 essays,
Hey, I
100,000.
can't give like a determining number
Yeah,
based off
it's like
these.
a-
These.
Okay. So what if that is the proportion? per 100,000 men that die, there's 10,000 women that get essayed. What if that's the case in Ukraine?
It's also dependent on the kids. It's dependent on the family members. There's a lot of like actual proponents based off of these numbers, right?
Okay. And
So I would not be able to give you an answer unless you tell me the actual statistics.
let's say those are the numbers.
Well, I'm telling you, I can't
Do
say
you-
that regarding.
Do you believe that those men that die are going to have an afterlife, or they're just totally gone after they die?
What does that have to do with anything?
I think that has to do a lot, because if I'm
totally
just
irrelevant.
no, if I'm just gonna die and nothing matters, I don't give a shit about dying.
All right.
That's totally irrelevant.
Well, no. If I'm gonna, would I
It
rather get
doesn't
assaulted or
matter.
would I rather go to heaven? Like, it depends if you're religious and what you feel about the afterlife. 100%.
Wait, okay, fine. It begs the question. It begs the question then. So would you rather be essayed or killed?
I'd rather be killed.
Me too.
No, shot. Really?
Well, it depends if I'm getting R-worded, killed.
Really?
Yes.
And no, absolutely not.
Well,
You'd rather get like
No, I
not
I,
an answer.
I don't want to
R-worded?
die. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Essay.
murder me, baby.
I don't know what you'd say. I would rather get essayed, but
You said the
Essayed.
different answer yesterday.
Yeah, same. I don't want to die.
We have to fight. when we get home.
I'd rather look. They're both terrible. They're both terrible. It could be traumatizing, absolutely, but. Okay, so if that's the case, then so you view essay as worse than death.
Dependent on what kind of essay.
okay.
That's
let's
why I
not
said.
get graphic
That's why I
here.
said R-worded. Yes.
Well, then I could just make the same argument for death. Then there's easy ways to die, and there's fucking terrible ways to die.
because when you die at the end of death, there's nothing. When you die at the
And after you get essayed,
there's everything.
the
You have
essay
to-
ends. Yeah,
No,
you have trauma.
You have to live the rest of your life. You don't have to live the rest of your life after you die.
That's a fair point, but if that
You could
were
see both sides,
if
yeah.
that were a good argument for like essay being worse, then why hasn't everyone who's been essayed just killed themselves
They've
after?
tried to. A lot of people have. A lot of
because
victims.
after you get essayed, in the moment you feel like I would rather die. In the moment you feel like I don't want to be here. I don't want to experience this. This is horrible. This is awful. I'd rather disappear. I hate every second of this. But you can't do anything about it.
So I have a question for you then. If you're married, since you like to make this argument of what about the family though, if you were essayed, who's the primary victim? If a woman gets essayed, the woman or the husband?
I mean, it's.
The
Wait, so what do you mean?
Whoever
like the
gets
husband's
essayed.
dead and then I'm essayed?
Who's the primary victim? If a woman gets essayed, the
Yeah.
woman or the husband? If she has a husband, let's assume she has a husband.
Okay, am I the only one getting essayed?
who got
What's
essayed?
happening?
Who
Yeah,
got
just the
essayed?
woman gets essayed. Is
So after-
the husband
yeah.
the
Yes.
victim or is the woman the victim?
Who's the primary victim?
Obviously the woman. Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
But
but
it's
the husband, it's going to be hard for the husband.
Yes.
No.
You seem confused.
he's using this argument because you guys are saying that women are the primary victims of war because they're having to lose their
trying to
husbands.
turn your argument
so
on its
he's
head.
trying to turn it around.
Well, no, it's in the time period of like 1945. It is predominantly there was males working, and it's predominantly females at home. So it's not only the males dying and the women. Like, yes, war crimes are terrible for the women, but it's
Hold
also
on,
the
I'm not going to let you
economy.
get away with this. You're shifting the goalposts here. We were talking about the Ukraine war.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
Sorry, I got excited because you guys are fighting.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm asking you. Yeah, keep going.
Hold on, you haven't even engaged with the situation I've just given you.
I
Look
did.
at her. She's engaged. Just
Okay,
spent.
you're telling me about the 1943 World War
45.
II? Okay.
And in 1945. yeah.
And men worked and women didn't?
No,
What?
predominantly men worked, women didn't, right?
Okay,
Back
and-
at that time. period.
And?
Well, in the preface of your argument, it was more that you said, okay, a woman got essayed, right? And so my claim was that if a man dies, it's harder on the woman for the economy as well, right?
Come here.
The economy as a whole as well. Do you understand? Because women weren't working at the time.
Can you ask us all?
What are you
when we're-
talking about? Women were during World War II. Women were absolutely working.
Not as much as the men in the.
No, that was like Rosie the Riveter, but they were working because all the men went to war.
No, yeah, exactly. So, but
Yeah.
if like a majority of men died, they still had to pick up a lot of
pieces.
jobs
We had to
and
pick
things
up
like
the
that.
pieces,
You could,
and we
you can look at
could.
many articles
So,
based on this.
what's your argument?
I mean, that sucks, but like going to work versus dying, I feel like. Like,
I know, I'd
oh no,
rather pick up
I hate work as much as the next
Hold on.
guy.
You speaking for yourself. He goes, "Dying might sound a little chill.
Oh,
a little bit
okay.
chill."
All right, well that's a different
So what's the
philosophical
argument?
question.
What's the actual argument?
Well, this was another claim with like why, the victimization and things like that. But I don't get your original. If a woman got SA'd, and she's married and he's in the household and he's the victim, right? I don't get that.
No, that's insane.
No, he's not saying that he's the victim. It'd be insane to say that he's the victim.
Yeah, that's
and he's
what I'm-
saying that it's insane to say that the woman's the victim. He's
Wait,
using
well,
that
hold
logic.
on.
It's not insane to say he's not the victim at
the
all, but
woman-
he's not the
wait,
primary
war,
victim.
that's what I'm
Wait,
saying.
can I
Yes,
ask
the
a
primary
To say
question?
the woman's the
The
Wait,
victim.
man
can
would
I-
not be the primary.
He wouldn't be the.
victim.
Can I
That's all
ask a
he's. That's
question?
all he's saying.
Wait, I'm confused.
confused.
Can I ask a question? So if I'm in my house and a man breaks into my house and he essays me, am I not the primary victim?
That's
No,
literally.
you
That's
are.
Brian's
gonna
argument.
drive the point
no,
the
I was
other way.
confirming. I was confirming.
Imagine how crazy you would think
confirming.
I was if I said, no, the woman's not the primary victim.
Yeah, it's the.
No,
it'd be
I
crazy.
agree with you.
The
I
husband
agree.
is.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. I was just confirming with
What
what
if?
you guys were saying.
We went to another topic. What if?
Both people are still victims? I've always said this. No.
When I
No,
are
but
you
the
serious?
people
I asked
around
the
you are
question.
still victims.
I literally asked you the question: who's the primary victim of war, men or women? You said women. You didn't say both.
I said it the first time. You want to roll back
She wanted
the
to
film?
say both.
I always wanted to say both, but this is the third time you've asked me on
Both?
this podcast.
Is it not both?
Everybody is a victim when it comes to war. But when I'm asking you, who's the primary victim?
I can't say both. Yeah, I can now.
No,
changed
you
it?
can't.
Okay.
Because the question is, who is the primary victim of war? And you continually pick women.
Yes.
And you make arguments for women. So I don't know why you're trying to walk back your position here.
I'm not at all. How am I walking back my position? I said day one that I think everyone on the planet Earth is a victim, and then you said you have to pick one. So I said, okay, sure, women because of war crimes and other factors.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. So I don't. Where are we now?
Where
Tell me, where are we now?
we are at now is that we understand that men are the primary victims of war, but women suffer a lot.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, by going
yes.
to work.
Agree to
You
disagree.
agree with that? No,
No,
you.
but see, that's
no,
exactly
you agree,
okay.
No,
so that,
Kirby, you agree with that.
That is what that is because.
I've never
Kirby
agreed with
agrees.
Okay,
that.
so you disagree with men are the primary victims of war.
She doesn't. She's
Disagree
just,
with that, men. Yes.
Oh no.
That's,
Kirby,
That is
Kirby.
precisely what we are arguing
Wait,
about.
hold on. If I got drafted to the front line, would I get drafted and put on the front lines? Though, be real.
Good
What?
talk.
No.
You can't even. You can't be drafted.
That's what I'm saying.
You're from Canada too.
Oh yeah, throw me out. Sorry,
Not because you're a woman, because you're Canadian.
throw me out of the conversation. I'm sorry.
Here, we're gonna read a couple chats. Abigail, are you able to see it or no?
This is a good breakup.
Oh no, I can't.
If you haven't,
Do you
want me to
I
read
can.
it?
Far away.
You can read it. Go ahead.
If
Can I
you
read
have-
it? Can I read it out loud?
Just let her read. God